Kha'Zix a little bit more, but I fully expect Caitlyn to be the heavily contested pick. While Samsung has tried their hand at making Ruler the single carry, the pick itself right now is just so incredibly powerful. Those crit headshots, the ability to peel, such an obnoxious champion to deal with.
And it's part of what Samsung used against Ever 8 too. They just went super late game and allowed Ruler to carry on that Caitlyn. So you were talking about how you think Janair should probably ban it out here. We already have Galio and Zach taken away.
And Janair is a team that has been struggling to close out games. They can win early, but when it hits to that late game, before their identity was they go to that late game status. They have tried to go with that a little bit, but when you go into the late game against a Caitlyn, you're asking for trouble. And I fully expect Samsung to just early pick it right here, and there it is. What are you going to do now?
What is that guy going to do? I don't know what's going on here.
He's loving the Caitlyn.
He's really happy with the camera time. I didn't get to see what his sign said, but he was going hard for the camera.
Maybe we shouldn't know what the sign said.
Well, Caitlyn taken here, as you were talking about. Varus looking to be the response for Janair.
Classic there. Teddy loving that Varus himself, and it will offer some pushing power in that lane as well as some kill pressure, but the support pool hasn't been targeted quite so far. Only Carman. It is a flex pick that even Samsung themselves have used in the mid lane to great success.
Yep, this Graves is Umti's second most played, I believe. He's been showing it from time to time once his Lee Sin gets picked or banned away.
But already with Graves and Varus, you can tell the advantage that the composition of Samsung have going in its range. When Caitlyn ends up getting that QSS, no chance that she's going to die to Varus. And then Graves has no instance on a straight head-to-head of ever hitting Caitlyn. The only damage he can provide is either flashing in, her cornering herself into a wall, or following up with the collateral damage. And now those two champions have to deal with a Gragas and Tam Kench who are going to be in the way already. So what is Janair going to draft to somehow kill this Caitlyn? I have no idea what they can come out here. Maybe a Jarvan would be one of the picks that can make some sense. And Sohwan being subbed in, not the initial carry for Janair, will be just placed under Renekton instead. So I like the idea, just full commitment to the early game. They have closed out early, but they need to execute cleanly if they don't want to deal with a Ruler with Gragas Kench in the late game.
Yeah, and you were talking about how some themes of the compositions are already coming in, and we're going into the second ban phase, so Samsung could definitely take away some more of those divey type champions, those early game pushing champions if he wants.
And I think the support pool here is going to be critical. The mid laner doesn't matter too much now for the heavy engage against the Caitlyn, but picks like Braum, picks like Brent or Bart. What does that say? Day to day. Who is that face?
I don't know. Maybe it's Cuvée, because the camera went right to him after.
So they're banning out Snowball mids. Make sure that Kuzan doesn't get to snowball the early game out of control. So they're prioritizing that as opposed to the engage from Snowflower that can be brought out from the support role. Perfectly viable choice here, and probably will do so again, as maybe even a Blitzcrank wouldn't be such a crazy pick right now, and when you're dealing with Tam Kench as well, can just devour. So early dominance in the bottom lane, making sure that Caitlyn can survive the laning phase, as Tam Kench will be. Oh, wait a
Ballas
minute.
And Crumbs.
Wait a minute.
Come party with us.
Diamond in NA, silver in Korea. Well, what are you doing later tonight?
Crumbs can definitely show you the ropes, if you know what I mean. So, looking towards Janair's pick, and so far Kuzan 3-0 on the Orianna. They look to lock that in.
Love the pick right here, making sure that you don't add Orianna to this deadly pool of protect the Caitlyn composition, as Crown is well versed in that pick. And now we might see the answer to the Renekton. So far we have seen just lanes try to survive, so this is going to be the first time we see the Nard into it. Skill matchup, to say the least. He will be struggling early in the game, but once the armor itemization comes through, he should have an easy time dealing with Renekton and Graves respectively. But the Syndra in the mid lane just makes for such a well-rounded composition out of Samsung. Team fight, pick, burst. I love this draft from Samsung.
It's going to be really cool. I think they have another huge threat for Crown. I mean, whenever he can pick up that Syndra, if it's available to him and it works with the composition, he will always pick that up and be a huge force to be reckoned with. I mean, he's the guy that has the most MVP points for spring. He's already stacking them up for summer. So if you thought Ruler on the Caitlyn with all that protection was going to be scary, well, you also got to deal with Crown Syndra.
And he's going to have a difficult time playing Syndra into Braum. This is why I question the Zyra ban as the approach that Samsung isn't going to take in the bottom lane. Clearly, they just want to push out bottom and gain advantages that way. But now, come the mid game, you would have expected Crown to pick either Orianna if it wasn't denied or Syndra for this composition. And both those champions have a difficult time dealing with the Unbreakable from Braum. Both the ultimate for Syndra is completely stopped and the ball stops at the wall right away. So Samsung playing a little bit of hard mode for Crown. As you said, he has all those MVP points to ensure that Ruler and Core JJ get out of lane free. And if they can end up focusing the map, split their advantages to make sure that bot lane pushes and top survives, Samsung will be in a great position come mid game.
So there you go, guys. Jin looking to close out an early game advantage. We'll see if they can actually do that. Samsung with a very Samsung-esque kind of composition going for that late game with Ruler on the Caitlyn, but also with the featured performance of Gnar for Kive.
Yeah, you've got that fail-safe element with those late game picks, but so does Jin. Orianna is no slouch in that late game, so you can expect her to make some waves and getting some engages off into this crazy late game of Caitlyn Tahm-Kench.
Definitely very true. So guys, get out there, tell your friends that Samsung versus Jin Greenwings is on here at LCK. We're going to be jumping into game number 1 in just a moment. Here we go. Join us on the Rift right now. Here we go. Already some action happening in the game. Bit of an invade from Jin that does get spotted.
Early game shenanigans will always favor the team with Braum. The single best champion level 1. I don't think there's really any debate about that one.
What about Olaf?
I think Braum's... I think Braum can be a little stronger than the Olaf level 1, actually.
Do you mean head-to-head? Because I
no,
suppose the axis
not
would get blocked.
head-to-head. As a team environment, you proc out that stun.
No, I mean like, you know, you got Braum on one team, you got Olaf on the other team.
Well, so much depends about who you have, but they have triple range that can proc that stun. So you hit your Winter's Bite and immediately it'll get procced by Ori, Graves, and Varus, and that's pretty much death on somebody at level 1, whereas Olaf does take some time, but so much of it revolves around your team compositions, and Samsung reacts well. They don't want to have any piece of that early game pie.
Looks like a red start for Umti. Going to be doing that pretty quickly. No start on the Raptors here for the Graves.
I love this approach.
Going to land that here onto Ruler. Can they get the stun? Not quite. But Ruler does take a nice chunk of damage.
Oh, that is just beautiful preparation from Jin. They have scouted out what they love to do. He's going to have to smite this. Don't let it get stolen by that Q.
Well, he's trying to pull it. Snowflower is still here. Can't line it up. Not going to try for it.
Okay, smart moves there from Jin, but they did their research. They knew that this was a common leash, and now they have an invade. They're so well prepared here.
Oh, man. He's going to go in, though. Lands the body slam onto Umti. Here comes Crown with the Ghost. Will land the stun, but he does save his life. Ruler, in the meantime, getting a little bit low. They're trading it back. The stun onto Teddy. Moving forward here is Ruler. Looking for that damage, but not going to grab a kill.
They lose the trade because they didn't use their exhaust, so they have a summoner advantage now, coming all in. It is still against Tahm-Kench, but going back on that level 1, so many teams we saw with SKT starting out where the jungler does the Raptor camp, then the duo lane leashes a red buff so you can accelerate your jungle's route. It'll help so much when you're dealing with a Gragas. So they read it out well. Umti goes straight to the blue buff to try to get a pick onto Ambition, but unfortunately, Syndra did have advantages in the mid lane, so he wasn't able to follow through with that, but it did give them an advantage in the bottom lane in health, and it's now transcending into a bit of a CS lead, a lane that you would have wanted Caitlyn to be pushing 24/7. It's now them under the turret.
Yeah, perhaps they can get back on their feet after a little bit of time. But as you were saying, advantage to Jin as it does start. Ambition has been fine after the help of Crown, is just getting at that Scuttle Crab here, already hit level 4.
So1's not going to let himself get ganked, so the jungler's just looking to go on a farm fest. I think So1 is going to be looking for potentially Ambition going for it. He sees the barrel. Oh, this could be a good harass for him.
He's going on in. So1 moving forward with the stun. This will definitely be a bit of a long chase, as Ambition definitely is a bit tanky, able to land the slow, and Cuvée does just rotate on in, but at least he stops the steal of the Krugs.
Such great communication coming out of Jin Air. I'm really impressed with this early game so far. Heavily prepared. They've noticed how many routes so far have been where junglers split the map and one ends up going to the Raptor camp, the other one goes to the Krugs of the opponent's side, and now you have going for just that. He's about to go to the Raptor camp, so taking the information that was acquired from So1 that he gave earlier, and now it ends up in him getting a little bit of a camp ahead, but actually they had left the big one, so he's not going to find the entire camp there.
Just the big one.
No, you don't want any of it. You always want the big one.
You got to go for the big one if you have a choice, right? Big one or small one?
Well, the little ones do offer a lot of experience. So,
yeah, it definitely depends, for sure. See that? Oh, a bit of a gank coming in here from MT. Forces a flash from Crown. A bit early. Crown, who's about to get his ghost back, will be down on both summoners for just a little bit.
Great gank right there, making sure that the flash gets burned. Now when Kuzan hits level 6, you do have the opportunity of a shockwave, even with a flash self-shockwave on Orianna. It should net a kill. The damage between Orianna and Graves will be huge, so the vision for mid laner for Jin Air will have to be the focal point in the next coming minutes off that base. He doesn't have wards just yet, as a control ward did get cleared out. But when Kuzan returns, if they can establish a good route for to get into the mid lane, they should be able to find first blood onto Crown.
And they do know that this is almost definitely happening. They spot coming on in. Ambition in position to deal with this. But it looks like he's going to come on into this brush. Land the body slam. Here comes Crown. He has hit level 6. Lots of tension here in the mid lane as both of these guys looking for protection or kills on the opponent's mid laners.
There's more mana on the side of Kuzan, and because he has control on the wave, he can start getting more mana back by last hitting effectively with that Doran's Ring.
MT just hanging around. Looks like maybe Crown will go for the back now. He's low on mana.
Yeah, it's a tense moment, but Ambition's route quite effective in protecting Crown. Now his warding is going to have to be pristine to make sure that Kuzan does not get surprised. Between two flashes, Ghost is not going to save him.
We got a small look up at the top lane. You could see that Cuvée has fallen a little bit behind there, as So1 has just been pushing that in really, really hard into the turret as much as possible.
And that's perfectly fine for Nara. You're okay conceding a bit of the early stages in the lane. You're going to be able to start really shedding some of the HP out of Renekton when you start getting a lot of points in that hyper, that percentage HP, the ability to kite him out depending on the build that he goes. We can most likely expect just a Black Cleaver rush out of Gnar. It seems to be the common build so far. Early armor before. You sometimes would see Sunfire Cape into this matchup, but you got to remember that that item did get nerfed, so really not the greatest to rush. And kill pressure is always valuable.
So when he was waiting up here in the brush, I thought maybe he wanted to go on to Cuvée, but it seems like he just wanted to let him push and pick up the creeps. Doesn't want to use that teleport just yet. Nice steal by Ambition, by the way. We didn't really mention this. Went in and stole the red buff and got away.
Making advantage of what was going on the top side with the wave bouncing back and Orianna not having full control of the lane. Now they know where is, so any attempt onto the mid lane will likely take up to a minute for Jin Air to really find their way around this lane.
You can see that finally the Caitlyn lane in the bottom side is pushing it on in, as he has gotten his feet back underneath him.
And the thing is, they're maintaining so much pressure in this lane that they haven't shopped. These shields are still the only item on these AD carries, and there's still a potion on Ruler. That early exchange that we saw going on did not even force her to blow a pot, and that means that they can just stay pushing relentlessly, and as long as Umti can't find a way here, and as long as there is no vision in the bottom side for a teleport, they're going to be able to continuously get advantages. Now they have finally decided they've had enough. Let's get our itemizations going, and can expect maybe a Berserkers or early boots into a BF sword. Probably even a Berserkers if he really feels like going that style, as some AD carries have been really loving that build early on, and it's quite effective in escaping a lot of the mobility-based CC that you have out of Varus and Braum.
You were talking about the lack of vision in the mid lane. Crown with a big roam up into the top. Sohan is going to have to win a 1v2. There's the unleashed power into the stun, and first blood goes over to Cuvée.
All too easy. No MIA. Call on to the Syndra. Finds her way topside, and notice who they gave the kill to. Crown could have easily taken that kill, but they let Cuvée have that one. That first blood is going to mean that now the power of Renekton will be dwindling even more, and if he gets ahead of Renekton, a lane that you need to snowball and lane that needs to start pushing and creating a pressure point for Jin is going to be behind, and this means that Cuvée is going to have so much free time into the top side, as getting ganked by Renekton and Graves is really not the most dangerous thing in the world.
First trick of the game was an Infernal Drake. Doesn't look like either team has been able to make a move towards that so far. Looks like, though, with the roam up towards top side, Jin was able to get some control wards down, some vision over there.
This is the issue with the Graves. You have so many lanes that can play aggressive, that can overextend and push or set you up for a gank, but Graves, his routing isn't the greatest for it. His CC is completely missing for any gank, and as such, he just ends up farming, but the likes of a Gragas and pretty much any other meta jungler can keep up with Graves right now. So the pick is not that effective, and you see him, he snuck all the way behind the Rift Herald. There's really no chance. And as soon as you see him use Slice and Dice,
oh, the angles.
Look at the angle.
Whoa.
Death revisited.
Mom, get the camera. He got pretty wrecked. I mean, he went in as Crown was coming behind him.
The second you use Slice and Dice, you're pretty much done. The vision that Jin had acquired was around the camp, so they didn't actually get any route. They were only able to ward toward the camps, and there is no teleport out of Cuvée. So Jin felt comfortable with starting this Dragon. However, the teleport does not matter when you're dealing with all your lanes being pressured. Mid lane is clearly under the control of Crown, and so is the bottom lane. So even though you have the teleport advantage, the wards don't matter if all your other lanes can't collapse on time or with a better position. And now, once again, another roam topside. There is no vision around it. He's playing it accordingly. He sees the ward, but Uzan is following.
Yeah, he is a bit behind. Crown will be spotted now. And here we go. They're going to go for the dive here. Sohan popping that ult, trying to flash on top and land the ult, but the stun comes out from Crown first. Diving in with the Slice and Dice, and now all of Samsung has to flash away as Kuzan makes his way in.
Jin reads the gank, and Sohan plays it quite well. However, it's easier to kill these tanks when you have Mini Gnar as Gnar. You're dealing with Renekton, so getting that hyper damage is going to be more effective for dealing with these crazy HP tanks than it is as Mega Gnar.
Oh, look at this. Move into the mid lane by CoreJJ, forcing the flash out of Umti, not getting cast back into Ambition.
It just shows how quick to the trigger CoreJJ is going to be on this Tahm Kench. Because the laning phase has been extended so long, we get denied the crazy Tahm Kench roams onto the top side to end up getting picks and start getting those first bricks going. They have a higher chance of getting first bricks simply in the bottom lane. It's now Teddy will have to base without any mana.
Pressure keeping up down here. Teddy not going for the base just yet.
And it's just impeccable vision for Samsung to allow them to push this far. Control ward in the river, control ward behind them. It's Caitlyn with traps, Tahm Kench to save everybody with all the summoners, even the control ward in the red buff so you can see anybody sneak around from behind. So well thought out.
Yeah, They're really trying to enable this lane as much as possible, it seems. And you can see even up in the top lane, the vision has been going over to Cuvée here. He's really pushing that one in. Getting lower and lower is that turret.
And it's no strange game plan. We've seen every team that drafts these champions play this exact same way. You push the bottom lane, you let Caitlyn get your advantages, and here comes an attempt. So Teddy has been saving mana for his chains, but they have to go on Core JJ.
Are they going to land it here? That's the question. You can see Empty. There's the Chain of Corruption into the knockup. Where's the burst damage? Empty a little bit late to get there. Now Ambition making his way in. He does have that cast. There's the flash body slam into the exhaust. Going to be an easy kill for Samsung to pick up. Double teleport. Both get canceled. That's going to turn around in favor of Samsung.
And there just was no mana on Janair. Snowflower had to choose between using either his Winter's Bite or his Glacial Fissure. Winter's Bite would have actually been the better choice, as you can proc the stun and guarantee that Core JJ not only gets slowed, but stunned right after. And as such, the counter gank comes around. There's really no follow-up without any more damage coming out from the spellcaster that is Varus. There's no chance that Tahm Kench was going to go down. So Ambition gets to respond, and now they walk away with a freebie of a dragon.
Yeah, things just looking so good here for Samsung in this early game.
So he uses the Winter's Bite right away. It just was not on cooldown. Oh, what a poor miscommunication out of Janair, actually. He used it earlier on Ruler. Had there been a Winter's Bite onto Core JJ, they might have been able to get the stun out of him and at least trade a 1-for-1.
So, not looking too good so far. Already Samsung in the lead. They also picked up the Infernal Drake. So you do see that up in the top left.
They've been reading Janair like a book so far. Crown having so much advantage in the mid lane, using his opportunity to roam. And while Tahm Kench does have another moment to use his Abyssal Voyage, anywhere else, they're still going to just be going into the bottom lane. Both top and bottom are the ones that have been cracked, so there's no need to swap out the lanes. But Janair does recognize that. They want to save their own turrets themselves. And it's not going to be a race. Caitlyn's going to get to the turret, and she's going to get it before anybody else gets here. They don't have any other teleports. There is armor on Renekton, actually.
Already has Ninja Tabi and the Chain Vest. So you can see how little damage he is taking. They're picking away at that. There's the Devour actually on top of the trap. So on forced to pop his ultimate to clear the wave and save the turret.
Yeah, this Renekton is not going to be able to defend this turret. Janair needs to accelerate this, so they're going to rotate 3 people topside. If Cuvée can get his Meganar on time, he should be able to survive.
Okay, the flash with the Chain of Corruption. Should be a lot of burst damage coming out here. Flash from Cuvée and the collateral damage. Followed up by Teddy will mean the kill. Ambition getting here a little bit slow, though. Will be exhausted and taking out double kill now for Teddy in the top lane. Disaster for Samsung.
Great moves from Janair. They immediately pull the trigger. They flash with the Chains of Corruption to make sure that Cuvée can't escape. They get him out of the turret, and Samsung just lacks patience there. They should have communicated that, hey, we're going to get this turret faster than them no matter what. We're basically obliterating Renekton in this 1v2. Janair needed to commit 3 people for that dive, and they would have been opened up to not only defend the Rift Herald had they backed off, but to transition into a rotation in the mid lane from their dual lane. So a lack of communication, getting so greedy in that between the bottom lane and the top and jungle that in the end the trade ends up favoring Janair with not only 2 kills, a turret, and the Rift Herald.
Yeah, they'll easily give away the first blood turret for that. I mean, not like they had much choice, but they're really responding to this quite well. Gonna give over the Rift Herald to Umti. We're gonna take a look at the replay now.
So they don't expect Umti to surprise him with the Blast Cone, but just barely in range there. Snowflower gets in, and Ambition just getting so greedy. You're 1v3. That's actually a 1v3. He willingly goes into it, and smart there from Snowflower to flash in to try to get the proc, but the advantages that Janair get are even more than what we get to see, as now that Rift Herald can be used into that mid lane, and that means that it's a delayed advantage into potentially a tier 1 into the mid lane, a lane that, while even in CS, Crown has had the advantage of roaming, can all of a sudden be collapsed with a well-timed use of Herald.
Nice moves here by Ruler and Core JJ to take out this top turret that was getting low. In the meantime, with this pressure, you do see Ambition going for the red buff again. Trying to take that as often as possible away from Umti.
It's going to be a 2-man trade. They know that even as a 2-man bottom lane, they can dive so one. If Gragas is here, it'll just be a easy as cake. So Renekton can't defend this. Orianna is rotating. Here comes the attempt onto the mid lane from Syndra.
So on, going mad mode, 1v3 with that ultimate popped. Has Kuzan coming on in. Can he actually defend this mid lane? Looks like he can for now. Defended top as well. And only able to get that bot tier 1 for it.
He needs Brahmin here, and I don't think these two can actually take on Syndra right now. She's incredibly spiked with Haunting Guys, Sorks, and Morello's completed.
Yeah, Crown actually completed the Haunting Guys first. Before finishing the Morellos was a nice little move. But either way, here comes Snowflower and Teddy from behind, trying to look for a pick onto Crown, who will be forced to blow both summoners to get away.
But in the end, Jynneir's commitment to trading that bottom lane turret, trading that 1-for-1 because they were late, ends up costing them so much. That help onto the mid lane means that between Syndra and Caitlyn, one successful siege will take down that turret. If they can take advantage of Crown getting low, having his summoners burn, they might find an opportunity to use Rift Herald into the mid lane. It's really the only place they can use it right now and get an advantage, and they're going to have to do so if they choose to make the most out of the play that they got 2 minutes prior.
We got another Infernal Drake coming in 1 minute, so that would be fantastic for Samsung to stack if they can defend against this push. You can see that he doesn't want to use the Rift Herald just yet. Is going to wait for a more opportune moment.
Thing is, it's just so obnoxious to actually find an opening to this Caitlyn Tahm Kench between your headshot traps and Tahm Kench, and the fact that you don't have any wards to TP or even a great flanking top laner. You had a Rumble, the chances of fighting this dual lane are a lot higher. You're not a single target CC, you can just AoE them down, but when you're Renekton, you almost always just have to stun the Tahm Kench, and that's not a viable way of taking down this Caitlyn, who now has her Infinity Edge and Static Shift, so the wave clear is going to be insane, and if anybody steps on the trap, it's going to be headshot to the dome, and that's about half HP for some of these squishier champions.
Will Empty use it here? Doesn't look like it just yet. Looks like instead of going for that, they really want to secure the Infernal Drake. Or this isn't Infernal Drake, this is Mountain Drake.
This is going to go down for free. They took advantage of it, yeah.
I see what's going on. I got the wrong monitor today, so I thought the... Okay, I understand now. I got it.
That's all right, but now Samsung's transitioning for that tier 2 top side. Oh, he's so dead.
Oh, man. Just taking way too much damage underneath the turret. So on. He was going man mode many times before that, but this time it was a little bit too much.
That's a Syndra. You can't do that against a Syndra. The guy has no magic resist. Oh,
okay.
No.
I think that might have just popped out of him. It didn't seem like he did that on purpose.
He birthed it out like Alien.
Poor Empty.
Oh, here it is. I wasn't meant to be born. Why am I in this world? Actually, earlier today in EU LCS, I think we might have seen the worst use of Rift Herald. So they used it at their base.
Worse than this?
Yeah, actually no. I think this one takes a cake. Yeah, this one actually is the worst use of Rift Herald so far.
It walked into the mid lane and died. It's harder to get worse.
It was never. It was a miscarriage.
Oh boy, Empty. No one wanted to see that. And yeah, I mean, from here, it's a very easy kind of rotation for Samsung to say, okay, you don't have the Rift Herald. You did take the Mountain Drake, but it just doesn't matter. The Caitlyn with that spike you were talking about and the red buff, easily able to push in the mid lane now.
I'm saying, man, Caitlyn is too broken right now. I'm surprised Jynneir did not ban it out. Every team is basically first picking this champion, even banning it on red side, make sure that nobody gets their hands on this pick. The siege potential and difficulty that it is in jumping her and not taking any insane damage in return, as well as how easy it is to protect her, means that she's risen to the top as a first pick. People don't care now about Gallia and Zac. They just say, give me Caitlyn and I'll win the game anyways.
Yeah, and it came down to the final bans for Jynneir. I think they banned Kha'Zix too. They banned Kha'Zix Elise, so they were really targeting Ambition, but they didn't take away his Gragas. It was his most played up until today, so I'm not really sure about that line of banning.
It's his most comfortable pick. 6 games of Gragas so far. 2 on Elise and 3 on Kha'Zix. So the Kha'Zix I get a little bit more, as teams have been using that to great effect with Shen and Galley, even though Galley was out of the pool, and the champion does have to offer a lot for pressure in the jungle matchup. But has been having a pretty decent season so far.
Oh, look at that catch. But again, CoreJJ in position, always waiting nearby. And that's a burnt ultimate for Teddy now. And look at Sowan just on the run, cannot turn against this Caitlyn. Already down to near half health. Ruler getting a little bit frisky though.
This is just the nightmare that this champion is. Between her and Tahm Kench has actually rushed a face of the mountain to make sure that he gives even more HP to Ruler. Oh. They already blew Chains of Corruption. All they have is a teleport to somehow engage onto Ruler, but look at that. There are 2 people committed to the mid lane, 4, and they still can't do anything.
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about. You're focusing on Ruler. You don't see the Syndra coming from the left side to burst your ADC down as if he never existed.
He wishes he never existed in that lane. Now he's 50 CS behind, even though he had been playing the game out decently well and their early game strat was fine. If they did not get ahead early game, this is what was going to happen. Now it's a crazy dive.
Oh, look at this. Body slam into Kuzan. This is such an easy setup. Jin not respecting that flank. That's a double kill now to Ruler as they're looking to push inhibitors here.
And the angle from Ambition was sick. So many times do you see Unbreakable actually stop the Gragas ultimate, but he went so far behind the Braum that even after he got closer to Orianna, the cast was already behind both of them, so he was easily able to knock them both onto the team. And now with the control they have into the mid, they can't do anything to Cuvee. He only has 1 armor item, but between a behind Renekton and the Graves, there's no chance here.
Oh, flashing away, gets locked up by that stun. Look at how much damage Crown does right now to this guy. And so on, he's trying to be a hero, gets locked up against that wall. Follow up here from Crown, looking for the double kill with the stun. And there it is. That's going to be triple actually going over to Crown and the Baron for Samsung.
What a slaughter this game has turned into. I mean, it's not going to stop here. It's only 25 minutes in. That's a 10,000 gold lead on the side of Samsung. It's all said and done. Go straight to the mid lane, siege that turret, get yourself inhibitors. They rinse and repeat, and the game should be all but over.
Man, I was expecting Jin to put up a bit better of a fight than this, to be honest.
It was over when you gave Caitlyn away. And you actually took Graves Varus was an awful answer. Varus Gragas would have actually been a good rotation from them. The thing is, is not really the craziest Gragas player. He actually only has 1 game on him and a loss, so he favors more of those carry champions. He recently tried to bring out that Rek'Sai in horrendous fashion, but this is where flexibility in players in being able to achieve multiple styles ends up paying in. If you can only really play carry junglers and the situation calls for letting a mega carry come through and you don't have an answer to these champions, you have no opportunity of actually removing Caitlyn from the map.
Well, they're going to be pushing in 2 lanes at this point. Coming onto the mid lane, CoreJJ just eats up the Caitlyn, flashes the wall. Perfectly safe.
Dude, that's 2 people absorbing 5 of attention, but hold on. Nothing happens.
Hold on, it's Tahm Kench.
Look at that. She's 1v5ing. There's 5 people trying to get in range of Caitlyn, and she's dealing with all of them. They did so much preparation. They saw the level 1, but somehow did they just forget that Caitlyn was insane? Well, I guess they did. And
look at this. Look at this. Bye-bye, And you could eat up the Caitlyn. She had tower aggro. It doesn't matter. That's a double inhibitor going over. We got Cuvee just silently pushing the bottom lane. Nobody can get close.
Yeah, they'll just end it right here. That's double inhib so far. They don't even care about the 3rd one. They can go for 3.
Okay, they're trying to go for a combo here, but at the last second, CoreJJ able to even up Ruler. That will be 2 kills going over them. A last-ditch effort that doesn't reach much of anything. Crumbs is speechless right now. Doesn't seem to be too happy with this one, but okay, Kuzan, go back to the pool where you belong. That's going to be game number 1 in under 28 minutes. Going over to Samsung. Crown, he wants more. He's out of mana. That's going to do it.
Yeah, that's going to do it. Super easy from Samsung. They didn't really struggle much in this game. They played it quite well to their advantages. Ambition with intelligent pathing, make sure that Umti did not get early advantages, and I think that's what Jennare really wanted to bank on. Make sure that Umti can get ahead of Ambition and then somehow shut down the lanes. But the second that Crown snuck up into that top side, they lost pressure in the Renekton lane. Then, one more time, Renekton gets put even further behind, and meanwhile, Ruler and Core JJ get to push bot lane relentlessly. Seems like Jennare only had planned for 3 minutes in this game, and the rest, 28 or 25, were just all dictated by Samsung.
Yeah, we got some pretty crazy score lines over on the side of Samsung. Crown was 5-0-3, Ruler was 3-0-7, and Tom Kench 0-0-6.
Man, I feel like I did more preparation for this draft than Jennare. We're like, they're gonna first pick Caitlyn. It's so obvious. Everyone's taking Caitlyn.
I think after you lose a game like that to Caitlyn, it gets hammered into your head more and more. Although we have seen teams like that lose to picks such as Caitlyn or, you know, Zach and Galio earlier on in the split, and then they just give it away again. So,
well, you know, I don't want to talk too much about the pick already. I think we've already done enough, but it's so much about understanding what is powerful, why teams are doing the actions that they are, why they're picking the champions that they are, and thinking, okay, why is it so popular? Why is it so prevalent around the world? What are the strengths and weaknesses of this champion? How does it fit the meta? And it just wasn't there, and Samsung gets away with having an excellent draft. Right from the start, we were saying this is a beautiful draft so far. Crown's going to have a bit of a harder time dealing with Unbreakable, but in the early stages, it should just be get those early advantages, transition into some quick rotations, and then wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Under 28 minutes, only 2 kills went to Jennare.
Close to a perfect game, but not quite. And it looks like we are going to take a look at some of the replays from this game. This was one of the moments where Jennare did something actually good. They got the 2 kills of their game.
Actually, these were the only 2 kills that Samsung gave away, and those were clearly a communication error. They would have been able to walk away with trading a first brick for just 1 turret, and here's a nice little mechanical play from Ambition, understanding how to get around the Unbreakable. So well practiced in playing Gragas against Braum, and even as a cheeky end to that play, he ends up tanking the turret for the rest of the team. And it's just, you're playing Graves against Syndra.
You can see the control on Crown Syndra too. He was landing everything. I love this fight from Crown. Just cleanup time.
And the beauty of it is when you open up with your ultimate, you get all your orbs out on the floor, making sure that that ultimate gets up that crazy AoE.
And you can see Ruler almost dies. Not quite though.
Day you almost caught Captain Jack. He got eaten by a toad, and therefore you couldn't take him out.
So, one look at the result. If you guys were paying attention, you know what was going on. 17,000 gold ahead was Samsung at the end of that game, and let's look at Caitlyn's stats.
Orianna did the same damage than Gragas. Look at the damage Tom Kench did. That was all that abuse onto the bottom lane on the Braum, getting licked to death, and then Renekton even more. Crocodile is delicious, have been in Florida, can't confirm.
Hunting some crocodiles down there, Crown?
Actually, it's alligators. It's alligators.
Okay.
People get upset about that.
I'm sorry. Crown didn't even do all that much damage when you compare it to the Caitlyn. It's almost double.
He was just enabler. Enable topside, get control of the mid lane, and you don't want anything more from a mid laner than just maintain pressure and help your side lanes.
Yeah, so guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break.